this old gimbal. I want to tell you guys why I still use my first generation Zhiyun crane as my go-to gimbal. So we currently have 4 gimbals in our arsenal. When I say we, I mean my partner Jared Stark and myself and our video production company, Media.com. We have the Ronin S, the Mozza Air 2, and we have the Zhiyun crane V1 and V2. I still use the V1 as my go-to gimbal after all of these. And that's not taking anything away from these gimbals. These are great gimbals for the purposes that they're created for. I just personally prefer the minimalistic, small, nimble setup of the Zhiyun crane V1 with the Sony a6600 in conjunction with 2 lenses I find work best. The 10-18, which is stabilized, and the 35mm f1.4, which is also stabilized. Very small lenses, and they kind of cover all of the focal lengths that I need in the type of work that we shoot, which tends to be run and gun, sort of guerrilla style documentary where there's not a lot of scripting, storyboarding, or planning of anything that really goes into it. You're just capturing as it happens, or at best, you're able to sort of set things up a little bit in a room. You have 15 minutes to do something. And I like to use this setup to capture B-roll for the interviews that we do, because we shoot tons of interviews, tons and tons of talking heads. So I like to mix it up and have B-roll with some longer lenses, with some wider lenses, with handheld, and also use gimbal shots too. And I like the A6600 has the flip up screen. I can monitor audio if I have to. I can put a small microphone on there if I have to, although I find that I've been using the Rode Wireless Go, and it balances really nicely on the crane along with the 35mm 1.8 and the 10-18 f4. Those are great lenses. You can get some great results with this rig. So I rarely use a cage, monitor, or rig out the camera at all when I'm on a gimbal. I like to have it really simple, minimal, and tight. I also don't have a need for follow focus, as most of the work that I do, I would say almost all of it, unless I'm using like the Helios or really old vintage lens for a specific aesthetic and look, and I can track the shot very well, I'm almost always in autofocus, continuous, wide. I don't have a use for the hyperlapse function. I don't use any of the motion controls in any of the gimbals. And I also have never used inception mode professionally. I have not had a client ask us for an inception mode shot. So even though they're cool, it's just not practical for my kind of workflow. So here it is, it's just stripped down. So don't get me wrong, I love toys, I love gimbals. I think that there's a use for all these gimbals. I mean, for instance, the Mozza Air is a really wonderful gimbal in terms of being able to handle an A7 rigged out. And it also has some really cool functions that other gimbals don't have. The Ronin here with the other handle on it, this has all sorts of bells and whistles, and I'm sure I could get my FS5 there. And the V2, which is kind of just like a nice little payload update from the V1, I could use a cage on that as well. And yeah, just simple, clean and tight. So that's it. It's really stripped down, very useful and simple for my purposes. This old gimbal. So I hope everybody's doing well in these really strange times, and I wanted to make this video because I've just been inundated in my own social media feed with so much negativity and doom and gloom that since all of this social distancing and isolation stuff has sort of set in for our family, I've had the ability to sort of get out of that really anxiety-ridden mode. I feel a little bit better, a little more clear-headed, a little more routine and structure-oriented in what we sort of have to do in these times. And I didn't want to focus on doom and gloom or anything like that. I just wanted to make some straight-up content that I think people might get some value out of, and also to not believe the hype, man. Like, you know, we get inundated with stuff all the time, and gimbals are great. They're a tool, just like anything else is a tool. And if we're limited and we only have one gimbal, I'm very, very grateful that I have all of this stuff and that I have a successful business, and I can use all this stuff. But a lot of people don't, and you don't really need gear to squeeze out good art or quality content. It always starts with an idea. It always starts with a story and a thought in your head. And if you have a thought in your head and you want to get it out as a piece of art or a film or a video or music or whatever it is, The gear is not necessarily the first thing we should focus on. I think we should focus a little bit more on the concept of what we want to accomplish, and then revise with stuff and gear and whatnot. Anyways, who am I? I'm just some, middle-aged white dude in a basement making YouTube videos. On that note, this geezer is out. Stay safe. I'll see you guys on the next video, and like, subscribe, share if you got some value out of this. Peace.